I turned 50 on a Sunday. The kind of birthday you don't expect balloons or confetti for, but you do expect warmth. My daughter had drawn a silly little picture of me with a crown that said, King Dad. My son had helped her tape it onto the wall above the dining table. My wife, Elaine, had ordered a cake, chocolate, my favorite. The icing read, To the best father in the world, love, Maya and Jonah. I stood there, looking at it, smiling, thinking maybe, just maybe, we'd weathered enough to finally reach a place of peace. I didn't even hear her footsteps behind me. She said it in a whisper, calm, chilling. We need to talk. I turned. She didn't blink. I'm leaving you. Pause. And the kids aren't yours. I didn't speak. Couldn't. My first instinct wasn't rage. It wasn't even disbelief. It was silence. Because I felt something deeper than anger, something colder. It was the sound of the foundation cracking beneath a house I thought I'd built on truth.
She didn't cry, didn't beg, just said, I'll move out by the end of the week. I've already spoken to a lawyer. I didn't want to ruin your birthday, but I had to be honest. Honest? On the day my children, whom I raised as my own for over a decade, decorated the table with drawings and confetti? Honest? I looked back at the cake. My name in frosting. The word Father written with cheerful, colorful icing. That was the moment I realized I had never truly known the woman I built my world around. If this story grips you, subscribe for more real-life betrayals, revenge, and justice told from a woman's and sometimes man's point of view. This one is mine. I didn't touch the cake. Not that night. I sat in the living room long after everyone had gone to bed, even the kids. Elaine had gone upstairs like nothing happened, like she had just informed me of a change in the grocery list. And in that quiet, something strange settled into me. Not panic, not desperation, but a kind of surgical clarity.
I began replaying everything I'd missed. It started small, months back, maybe a year. She got a new phone and said the old one kept freezing. She started turning it face down on the table. I'd joke, "What, you got government secrets in there?" She'd laugh too hard. "Don't be paranoid." Then there were the business trips, overnights, extended conferences. "David wants the whole team together," she'd say. David was her boss. Charming guy. Too charming. I'd met him once at the company holiday party. He gave Elaine a wine glass, told me I was lucky. She blushed. I thought nothing of it, because when you trust someone, you don't keep score. But the signs were there. There were receipts I didn't recognize, dinners I hadn't attended. One night she came home in a red silk blouse I'd never seen before, smelling of hotel shampoo. I noticed a necklace, delicate, expensive looking. She said it was from a vendor. I believed her. We stopped having real conversations. She used to vent about her day, her co-workers, the funny things our daughter said. Then silence. Then blame. I was distant. I was tired all the time. She said, "You've lost your spark." I thought maybe it was just a midlife phase for both of us. Then came the night I caught her crying in the bathroom. I stood outside the door, listening. She whispered something I'll never forget. "I can't keep pretending." When I knocked, she composed herself fast. "Just a headache," she said. But after that, I started watching. Not snooping, just Observing. She spent more time at work, started dressing up more on weekends. She wore perfume again, expensive ones I didn't buy. She changed the family Netflix password, and she started locking her phone. It was the little things.
The slow erosion, 1,000 tiny signs I just didn't want to see. And the kids, Maya and Jonah, they didn't seem to notice. But there were moments. I'd catch her looking at them, not with motherly love, but with something that resembled guilt, like she was measuring the weight of her secret against the innocence in their eyes. Then one night, I was doing laundry, hers, because she'd forgotten, and a receipt fell out of her jeans pocket. It was for a baby boutique, a high-end one, addressed to David. Date, 11 years ago. A bassinet. A matching baby set. I froze. Our daughter is 10. I didn't confront her. I didn't yell. I folded the jeans, put the receipt in my drawer, and I sat with it.
For days. Because by then, I wasn't looking for a fight. I was gathering my own truth, silently, carefully. She still kissed me goodbye in the mornings, still said, "Love you," like a reflex. But the eyes, they stopped matching the words. And then came the day, my 50th birthday, the day she told me the kids weren't mine, that she was leaving, and that she'd already set everything in motion, like I was a meeting to be canceled, like a job she'd already quit. And yet, she had no idea I was already 10 steps ahead. But before I moved a single piece on the board, I needed to be sure. I needed someone, anyone, to look me in the eye and say, "Yes, you're not crazy. Something is wrong." So I called my sister, Mel. We've always been close. She's the type who tells it like it is, even when you're not ready to hear it. I thought if anyone would believe me, it would be her.
She picked up on the second ring. "Happy birthday, big bro," she chirped. I didn't respond to the excitement. I said, "Elaine just told me she's leaving, and she said the kids aren't mine." Dead silence. Then, "No, she didn't." "I'm serious," I said. "She's been having an affair with her boss for years maybe. I don't know, but she said it like it was nothing." Mel sighed, a long, slow exhale like I'd disappointed her. "Look, you've been tired, burnt out. You're reading too much into this. Maybe she's just mad. Women say crazy things when they're angry." "She wasn't angry, Mel. She was calm, like she'd been practicing it." Another pause. Then she said it. "Have you taken a paternity test? Maybe she's bluffing." Like I was supposed to need evidence to believe the woman I loved was shattering my entire life on purpose. I hung up. Next, I called my oldest friend, Grant. We'd been roommates back in college. He was the best man at my wedding. He listened quietly as I told him everything.
Then he said, "Man, maybe she's just going through something. Don't go nuclear yet. You've got a good thing, brother. Maybe counseling." Counseling? She told me flat out the kids weren't mine and she was leaving me. I wasn't reaching out for therapy. I was reaching out for someone to believe me. I realized something then. No one wants to believe the quiet, smiling woman baking cupcakes for the PTA meeting could be hiding that kind of lie. People want betrayal to be loud. They want shouting matches, lipstick stains, broken dishes. They don't know how to process betrayal when it comes wrapped in politeness and calm, composed cruelty. So I stopped talking, stopped explaining, and started remembering. All the times I carried that family on my back, all the late nights I stayed up with a teething baby, all the bills I paid when Elaine's startup failed, all the birthdays I planned, hers, the kids, even her parents. Every sacrifice, every compromise, every dream put on pause. And now, I was being erased. I sat in the garage that night, staring at the old family photo hung near the toolbox. Maya was just 3, sitting on my shoulders. Jonah was in Elaine's arms. And me? I looked like a man who thought he had everything he ever wanted. And maybe I did, but it wasn't real. At least not all of it. I whispered out loud, to no one. I could forgive betrayal, but being doubted by a loved one, that cracked something deeper. I didn't sleep much after that, but I started thinking, sharply, quietly, because if no one believed me now, then they'd have no choice when the truth came with receipts. The house was ours, or so I thought. We bought it 15 years ago, right after Elaine gave birth to Jonah. I remembered holding her hand as we signed the deed, our names side by side on the dotted line. She called it our forever home. Big backyard, fireplace, 2 extra bedrooms for guests and blessings. We poured our life into it. I worked overtime to finish the basement myself, built the bookshelves she wanted in the study, even planted that damn rose garden she swore she'd tend to every spring, though she never did. So when she mentioned, during one of our first bombshell conversations, that we'll need to get the house appraised, I felt a cold sweat crawl up my back. Why? I asked. To split everything fairly, she replied, sipping her tea like it was just another Tuesday. But the house is in both our names, I said. There's nothing to split. It stays. The kids need stability. She shrugged. You'll figure something out. And that's when I knew. She wasn't just walking away from me. She was trying to cash out from a life she didn't build alone. That night, I opened our file cabinet. Everything had been neatly arranged until it wasn't. Several folders were missing. Mortgage statements, loan paperwork, bank documents. I knew what I was looking for and what was missing. The next morning, I took a quiet drive to my old accountant, then to a lawyer. I didn't tell Elaine. I didn't tell anyone. The lawyer, a woman named Dana, was sharp. No fluff. She listened, tapped her pen once, and said, "You're about to be written out of your own story, but it's not too late." She pulled up property records, and what she found floored me. 8 months earlier, Elaine had applied to refinance the house, alone. She forged a document with my signature, changed the mailing address for our mortgage statements to a P.O. box I didn't know existed, and withdrew $60,000 in equity. Gone. Just like that. Dana leaned back and said, "She's preparing for war." Quietly, carefully. Then she looked me in the eye, "But we're going to be quieter and smarter." She laid out a plan. Freeze the accounts, secure the title, gather communication records, financial trails, and proof of forgery. Every move had to be clean, precise, legal. No outbursts, no warnings. I walked out of that office with a new spine, not vengeful, not bitter, but clear, focused. Elaine didn't notice the change in me, not right away. She still moved through the house like it belonged to her alone, still made phone calls in the bathroom, always locking the door, still treated me like a ghost walking through her carefully staged life. Until one evening, I left a folder on the kitchen counter. Nothing special, just an old insurance policy I needed her to sign. She glanced at it, flipped through it casually, then paused. Tucked between the papers was a copy of the refinancing application, with her signature and mine forged in a different pen. She didn't say a word, didn't ask why it was there. She just left it on the table and went upstairs. I waited. 2 nights later, she brought up the house again. Said she wanted a clean exit. Said I should sell it or buy her out. I looked her dead in the eyes and replied,
"I'll keep it. You've taken enough." She smiled. That smug, corporate smile she must have learned from David. "Then you'll need to come up with something fast. My lawyer will be in touch." I nodded and whispered, "Mine already has been." She didn't flinch, but she blinked. Just once, and that was enough. But I wasn't prepared for what came next. Not the legal ambush, not the emotional cruelty, not the loneliness that followed. Because betrayal doesn't just stop with one person. It spreads. It infects the people you thought would protect you. And when it does, the isolation cuts deeper than the lie itself. I called her mother first. Elaine's mom and I had always had a good relationship. She called me her second son once at Thanksgiving. I figured if anyone could talk some sense into her, it'd be her own mother. She answered in a cold tone. "Hello?"
"Hi, it's me. Just wanted you to hear things from me before Elaine spins it." Silence. Then she said, "Elaine told me everything, and I don't think this is the time to be blaming anyone. She's been unhappy for years." "Unhappy?" I asked. "And that justifies lying about our children's paternity?" She hesitated. "You always worked a lot. Maybe she just needed more." That stung more than I expected. And then she said something I'll never forget. "She deserves to be happy too, you know? Maybe David gives her that." I hung up. Then came the friends. Mutual ones. People used to come over for game nights and barbecues. People who watched me raise Maya and Jonah like they were my own blood. I reached out to a couple, Brian and Leslie. Brian texted back, "Hey man, we're staying neutral, don't want to get involved." Leslie unfollowed me on everything, like I was the scandal. At first, I blamed Elaine, assumed she was spinning a story behind my back. But then I realized, some people don't need a story to abandon you. All they need is convenience. Even my own cousin, who stood beside me as a groomsman, called me one afternoon and said, "I heard you're being dramatic. You sure those kids aren't yours? I mean, they call you dad, don't they?" It felt like a slap, not just because of what he said, but because of how easily they all swallowed it. Like my character was paper thin. Like years of devotion, sacrifice, and presence could be rewritten by one woman's whisper. And the kids? That was the hardest part. They didn't know the full truth. I hadn't told them. All they knew was, Mommy was leaving, Daddy was angry, and suddenly Mommy's boss was taking them to amusement parks. Maya grew distant. She wouldn't sit on my lap like she used to during movie night. She kept saying things like, "Mom says you're just going through something." And Jonah, one day he asked me point blank, "Are we not your real kids?" I had to step outside, couldn't let him see the tears, because I realized this wasn't just a betrayal. It was a quiet erasure, and I was alone in it. The people who should have said, "We've got your back," didn't. The ones who had seen me carry that family walked away. And the woman who once called me her safe place was now trying to make me look like a threat. And so I stopped reaching out,
stopped explaining, stopped hoping they'd see the truth, because sometimes the ones who share your blood are the first to doubt your worth. But doubt has a weakness.
It relies on fog, on confusion, on noise. So I chose silence. And in that silence, I found clarity. Because if they wouldn't stand with me in this storm, then they didn't deserve to be part of my peace when the sky cleared. Elaine thought I was broken. She mistook my silence for surrender. She expected pleading, rage, bargaining. But I gave her nothing. Just quiet. The kind of quiet that makes people nervous. Because it's not normal. It's not predictable. And in that stillness, a war began. Not with fists, not with shouting, but with slow, deliberate moves that she couldn't see. Yet. She packed a suitcase and moved in with a friend. Didn't say where. Didn't even tell the kids they wouldn't be waking up to her anymore. Just vanished. Left a note in the kitchen. I'll pick up Maya and Jonah for dinner on Sunday. We'll talk about custody soon. Don't make this harder than it needs to be. As if I was the one making this hard. I didn't respond. Didn't call. Didn't stop her. I made breakfast for the kids that morning. Sat with them. Listened to Jonah talk about his science project. Watched Maya draw a picture of the three of us. Me, her, and Jonah. Under a tree, holding hands. No mommy in sight. That night, I sat alone in the living room. No TV, no music. Just the sound of my own breathing. Because I knew this was the part where most people break, where they lash out, try to win them back, or air it all out on social media. But I wasn't going to scream. I was going to build. I began documenting everything. Every receipt, every message.
Every payment I had made for those kids, the school fees, the medical bills, even the ballet shoes and dentist visits. Elaine, the lawyer, sent the first letter a week later. Our client seeks an amicable settlement. She's willing to forego spousal support if the home is sold and proceeds divided equally. I read it twice, then filed it away. Friends started reaching out, probably at her request. Maybe it's time to just move on. You don't want the kids stuck in the middle. She's not asking for much. She's being fair. Fair? Fair is what I was for 12 years. Fair is what I was when I gave her a second chance after the first emotional affair with a coworker that she swore was just texts. Fair is what I was when I worked 2 jobs for 6 months to save her from bankruptcy. Fair is what I was when I chose love over ego over and over again. But fairness wasn't what she wanted now. She wanted control.
She wanted to walk away with her hands clean, while mine were still covered in the ashes of everything she burned. And people? People love peace more than justice. So when she smiled and said, "I just want to move on," they believed her. Even when she had already moved in with the man who fathered her children, even when she had financially drained our accounts, even when she tried to make me sign documents that would have stripped me of every legal right to the house and kids. Loved ones came with their middle ground suggestions. You'll still see them, just let her have primary custody. It's easier that way. Don't drag this through court. What will the kids think? They didn't realize this wasn't about revenge. It was about truth. About restoring what was being stolen quietly. Because she wasn't just taking the house, she was taking the narrative, making herself the mother who chose peace. painting me as the stubborn, prideful ex who couldn't let go. So I took strands of hair from their hairbrushes, packaged them quietly, and sent them off. 2 weeks later, the results came back. 0.00% probability. Both of them. Not one, both. My hands didn't shake, my jaw didn't clench, I just exhaled, like my body had been holding its breath for years. And then I made the hardest decision of all. I didn't tell the kids. Because what would it serve? They were innocent. They didn't choose any of this. I wasn't going to punish them for a truth they never asked for. I would protect them with or without biology. But Elaine, she'd made her choices, and now it was time for her to meet their consequences. The lawyer and I prepared a motion: fraudulent concealment, financial misappropriation, request for full ownership of the home, and split custody on my terms. We attached everything: the DNA results, her forged refinancing documents, the concealed assets, her emails to David's team showing she was already preparing to merge assets with him before she even told me she wanted a divorce. We didn't file it yet. We waited, because timing is power. Then one afternoon, I did something even I didn't expect myself to do. I scheduled a meeting with David's wife. I found her through an old tag in a Facebook post. She looked tired, beautiful but faded, like someone who'd swallowed too many secrets. I asked her to meet me at a neutral coffee shop. I didn't bring lawyers, didn't threaten, just said, "I think there's something you should know, and I think deep down, you already suspect." She listened, didn't blink, didn't interrupt. Then she opened her purse, took out a photo. 2 kids, one with David's eyes, the other with my smile. "They look more like you than him," she whispered. And then she said something that surprised me. "I'm leaving him too, but not for revenge, just for peace." We parted ways. No promises, no schemes. Just 2 strangers who loved deeply and were paying for it quietly. And then came the moment I'd been waiting for. Elaine called, said she wanted to talk like adults, said we could still make this civil. She showed up with a rehearsed smile, hair done, nails perfect, that same fake compassion she used to use on waiters she never tipped. "I want us to avoid court," she said. "I want the kids to feel safe." I nodded, pulled out a brown envelope and slid it across the table. "What's this?" "Truth," I said. She opened it, read. Her fingers trembled. She looked up at me, searching for a crack in my calm. Why are you doing this?" I smiled softly. "I'm not doing anything. I'm just asking one question." She swallowed. "What?" I leaned forward, my voice low, clear, unshaking. "Can you carry the burden he's about to become?" She blinked, and for the first time, she looked small. Not evil, not smug, just small. Because she finally realized I didn't need to scream. I didn't need to fight. I had simply built a truth so solid it didn't need my voice to stand. A week later, she showed up with her lawyer. We met in a polished downtown office, neutral ground, just like they wanted. She looked composed, professional, almost defiant, as if she still believed she could spin this. But I wasn't there to argue. I wasn't there to trade accusations. I was there to close the door, with dignity and with facts. Her lawyer began the usual soft introduction.
My client hopes to find a reasonable path forward, one that honors the years of shared life and the best interest of the children. I interrupted, gently. I'll speak for myself. Elaine's mouth twitched, like she was trying to anticipate where this was going, but she had no clue. She never did. Because she'd never imagined I was the kind of man who could sit in silence long enough to dismantle everything she built with lies. I opened my folder, slid over a document. Bank statements, forged mortgage documents, financial transfers to David's business. Then another document, DNA test results. Her lawyer's face dropped first. Elaine didn't move. She stared at the papers like they were written in fire. I could feel the heat of her panic across the table. Then I spoke, calmly, carefully. You concealed paternity for over a decade. You refinanced our home without my consent. You transferred joint funds to a man you were having an affair with, while I was putting food on the table. She opened her mouth to speak, but I raised a hand, just slightly. I'm not here to humiliate you. I'm here to restore balance, and I have no interest in dragging this through a public court unless I have to. Her lawyer leaned forward. What are you proposing? I slid one final page across. My terms. Full legal ownership of the house, split custody with clear boundaries and structured visitation, no claim to spousal support, and a non-disclosure clause. No interviews, no social media, no narrative spinning.
Elaine scanned it. She looked at me, desperate now. This is punishment. No, I said. This is clarity, and you earned it. There was a moment, just one, where she looked like the woman I once married. Not the liar, not the manipulator. Just the woman who used to fall asleep on my chest after the kids were finally down. But that woman was gone, and I wasn't here to resurrect her. She tried one last play. Don't do this in front of the children. I stared at her. They already know who raised them. I don't need to say a word. And with that, it was done. Papers signed, truth sealed. She walked out without saying goodbye. I didn't watch her leave. Because I wasn't grieving anymore. I was free. The house was mine, every brick, every board, every memory. At first, I thought I'd want to sell it. Too many echoes, too many ghosts in the hallways. But then one Saturday morning, I walked out to the backyard. The sun was breaking through the clouds. The rose bushes, yes, her roses, had bloomed again for the first time in years. And I decided I'd stay. I tore down the guest room that David had once slept in during a business trip he swore was innocent. Turned it into a studio. Hung my father's old fishing rods on the wall. Started sketching again. It was slow, clumsy, but it felt like mine. The kids? They came around. At first, it was tense. Quiet car rides, one-word answers. Maya was confused. Jonah was angry. At everyone. At no one. But I didn't push. Didn't badmouth their mother. Didn't try to win them. I just showed up. Every pickup, every drop-off. Every game, every tear. Maya asked me one night, "Why didn't you yell when she left?" I smiled and said, because yelling wouldn't change the truth, and I didn't want to waste my voice. She nodded. Didn't say anything more, but the next time she came over, she brought her sketchbook and curled up on the couch next to me, just like old times. Jonah took longer. He was 12 and full of fire, but eventually
After his mother missed his science fair for a work trip, he stood next to me in the kitchen and muttered, "You never missed one."
And that was enough. I wasn't trying to erase her. I wasn't trying to be a saint. I was just being consistent. And that, over time, became healing. I started cooking again. Small meals at first, burnt rice, undercooked chicken. But I got better, found joy in small things, quiet dinners, early morning walks, music without lyrics. People started asking if I'd start dating again. I told them, I'm not looking for someone to fill a hole. I'm building a life that doesn't need patching. Eventually, I met someone. Not in a whirlwind, not in a rush. Just two people, broken differently, who found comfort in the space between their silences. She never asked me to explain everything. She just listened when I wanted to talk, and stayed quiet when I didn't.
I didn't introduce her to the kids right away. When I finally did, she brought cookies and forgot everyone's name. Twice. Maya laughed so hard she nearly dropped her juice. Jonah gave her a high five before she left. It wasn't perfect, but it was real. And after all that pretending, all that pain, real was enough. Because it wasn't revenge I had chased. It was the return of my name, my peace, and my power. It's funny what power really is. It's not yelling louder. It's not winning every argument. It's not getting back what someone stole. Real power is peace, and knowing you can stand in the truth without needing to weaponize it. Years passed. One summer evening, Maya was home from college. Jonah had just graduated high school. We were all sitting on the porch, the air thick with barbecue smoke and laughter. I was sipping tea, watching them laugh like kids again. Carefree, loud, real. Then Maya got quiet. She turned to me and said, "Dad, I found something in a drawer when I was home last Christmas." I froze. She continued, "The paternity test. I saw your name on it, and Jonah's, and mine." Jonah looked up, confused. "What?" I didn't flinch. I nodded slowly. "I kept it hidden because it wasn't for you to carry. It was mine." Maya's eyes welled up. "You never told us. Not even after everything." "No," I said, "because I never wanted you to question who raised you. Only who walked away from me." Jonah stared at me. Then, in that voice that was suddenly deeper than I remembered, he said, "You're the only father I'll ever claim." And in that moment, I knew. Legacy isn't what we leave behind. It's what we choose to carry forward. And what I carried forward was dignity. Elaine? Last I heard, her relationship with David imploded a year in. His business collapsed in a scandal. The funds she moved around? Frozen. The friends who rallied around her at first? Gone. She moved to a smaller place, tried to start over. I didn't follow her story too closely, because her unraveling wasn't my victory. My peace was. One day I was at the grocery store. An older woman approached me, said she knew my story. Elaine's sister had told her bits and pieces. Then she asked, "How did you survive it all without breaking?" I smiled and replied, "Don't shout, don't run, think, then move once, so clean and strong that no one sees it coming." She looked at me like I'd just given her a weapon. Maybe I had. That night, I lit a fire in the backyard pit. Maya sat beside me. Jonah was somewhere inside, singing loudly to music he thought no one could hear. And for the first time in years, I didn't feel like a man who had lost everything. I felt like a man who had survived everything and still knew how to love. If this story hit you in the chest the way it did me, share it. Comment below, what would you have done? And don't forget to subscribe for more stories of women and men who fought back and didn't flinch.